This is the Wrestling Fan Zone podcast with your host, Brandon Johnson. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at _WFZ. Time to enter the zone. American Dream.
He's just a common man, working hard with his hands. He's just a common man, working hard for the man. Hey, he's a man.
It's a shameful fate, you've lost your head. A careless man who could wind up dead. You wear your sin like it's some kind of prize. Too many lies, too many lies. Oh, these words are true, and I'll make you believe. Yeah, you fight for air and struggle just to breathe.
What is up, everybody? It's Brandon with the Wrestling Fan Zone podcast. It's been a while, guys. It's been a couple of months. I want to thank y'all very much for your patience and for dealing with me, and I am back. It's been a rough last couple of months, been busy with whatnot, but guess what? I am back. So a couple new things. The Wrestling Fan Zone Twitter page, if you go to at the _WFZ, all uppercase. Guys, we are almost at 600 followers. I want to thank everybody personally for really helping me get to this feat. I never thought I'd get 100 followers, let alone, almost 600. So that's awesome. So thank y'all very much. Another thing is, past shows have been about a half an hour long. Due to the cut in Spreaker, it is now 15 minutes. So that means you'll have lesser times on the show, but guess what? That means you'll have more shows, which is awesome. And all these shows are uploaded to our YouTube page. Go to YouTube, type in the WFZ, and then there you go. Find the logo, you're good to go. That logo stands right out. I love that logo. So kind of how I did in the past, guys. I pretty much did it. I did one show with about 3 or 4, just about 3 main points, main subjects. So I'm just going to go basically one long subject and maybe one short one. Just whatever I feel like yapping about. And I have a good one for you guys today. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right. Now, I actually posted this on my Twitter page. I'd be talking about this, and I think it'd be an amazing fantasy match. I am talking about the nWo versus the Bullet Club in a fantasy match. Now, you probably have seen people talk about this before. There are a lot of similarities between the Bullet Club and the nWo. Notably the entrances when they come out, the use of the tintype, the use of the black and white, the logos are almost exactly the same as far as the lettering and type of lettering, the hand gestures, the too sweet hand gesture, or the wolf pack, whatever you want to call it. Many instances, old nWo members have praised the Bullet Club. In fact, Kevin Nash actually endorses the Bullet Club. So I think the Bullet Club now is one of the hottest factions in wrestling. And it's in a point in time where factions are a dying thing. You don't see as many factions as like back in the day. You had DX, you had the Corporation, the Nation of Domination, the Hart Foundation, the Hart Dynasty, the nWo, nWo Wolfpack, the LWO, the Four Horsemen. I forget. I don't know if it was the LWO or the Flock. I'm sorry, but there was a faction with Rey Mysterio and all of them, Psychosis. I forget what that was, and La Familia or something like that. But factions, there's not a lot of them left. So this is one of the last dying breeds, his factions, and one of the last ones is the Bullet Club. So I posted on my Twitter page I would be picking 3 from the nWo and 3 from the Bullet Club to fight off in a fantasy match. And I would choose the venue and the members. Now, we're going to have to use the 90s versions of these wrestlers for the nWo because a lot of them are pushing their 50s and 60s. So just to be fair, so we're going to use the 90s versions of these wrestlers. So I'm going to go with the nWo. I'm choosing Big Scott Hall because I've always been a Razor Ramon fan. And Scott is a very versatile wrestler. He is very technical, and he knows what he's doing in the ring. Now, I'm going to go with the big man, Kevin Nash. And the reason I picked Kevin is because he has that size and that power and that charisma. He can cut a hell of a promo, same as Scott. I think Scott and Kevin on the stick can really pump up this fight. And I'm going to throw an audible in here, guys. I'm not going to go with Hogan. I'm not going to go with Macho. I'm not going to go with the Giant, with Sting. You know, I'm throwing the Wolfpack in there. I could have gone with Sting, and that would have been a hell of a fight. But I'm going to go with 6, X-Pac, Sean Waltman. And the reason for that is how versatile that 6 really is. I think Sean Waltman is one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time just because of his sheer ability and what all he can do. The stuff he can do in and out of a ring is amazing because he has that high flyer cruiserweight, but he can work strong style too. And you see a lot of that in the early forms of WWF, of course, as the 1-2-3 Kid, and then as X-Pac, the early X-Pac. So there's my nWo. Now for the Bullet Club, of course, I'm going to throw out 2 good ones. I'm factoring in Finn Balor, or Prince Devitt, whatever you want to call him. I'm calling him Finn. Now, I said Finn. Now I'm going Luke Gallows. And my last one is Kenny Omega. So you have Omega, Gallows, and Balor versus Hall, Nash, and 6. Bash at the Beach or Halloween Havoc in the Tokyo Dome. Imagine that kind of match. Imagine the Cell. You have Gallows and Nash going one-on-one. I would say you have Kenny Omega and Scott Hall going one-on-one, and then you have Finn Balor and X-Pac, or 6, going one-on-one. So Waltman, Nash, and Hall versus Balor, Gallows, and Omega. I think that would be a hell of a pay-per-view. I think it would sell. And I think the nWo would put over the Bullet Club. Kind of like the official passing of the torch. You know, here you go. And then there'd be a big celebration in the ring. You know, 2 suites everywhere, you know. And then click. You know, pretty much, I mean, the Bullet Club pretty much now is like the Click. Figure, guys, you have, you know, Gallows, Anderson, Styles, Balor, the Young Bucks, Omega, Cody Hall. And look at all the promotions they're in. New Japan. They're in WWE and in a way. Ring of Honor. You know, so they're pretty much in a lot of these indie house shows. I even saw one for XPW. I didn't even know XPW was still around. But they're making these house shows at these baseball stadiums. So the Bullet Club is really a versatile group because they are everywhere. It's like the herpes of wrestling, and it's awesome. And I use the words herpes and awesome in the same sentence. But I think that, honestly, that'd be a hell of a draw. I would love to see that kind of fight. If there was ever a fantasy thing for wrestling, I would love to see that. I think we should start doing that now, is fantasy matches. I'll tell you what, go to Twitter, at the WFZ, and let me know what kind of fantasy matchup you'd like to see, whether it be the Giant versus Andre the Giant. Of course, that has already been really done over and with wrestling games and whatnot. But I think that would be a great topic, is fantasy matches Of course, The Undertaker and Sting has always been one. Trying to think of any off the top of my head. As soon as this podcast ends, guys, I'm going to have a whole bunch of them. But it's just not ringing a bell at the moment. But to have fantasy matchups, that'd be awesome. So go on the Twitter machine, go to our Facebook page, _WFZ, and let us know really who you'd want to hear as a fantasy matchup. And I'll give you my 2 cents about who would be. Well, of course, you already know who it would be, but how I feel it would go. And pretty much, what the outcome I think would be. Now, that was the longer one of my segments. So now on to segment number 2. Okay. Now, I was asked earlier today, actually, and I said I was going to do it on my show. So if you're listening, I hope you enjoy it. My top 5 wrestling theme songs of all time. I was like, wow. And I thought about it, guys, and I'm going to go 5 down to 1. Number 5 being the Four Horsemen's theme song. It just kind of gets you going, especially with that drum part. Makes you feel like you're a part of something big. Number 4 is the DX theme song, but I'm gonna throw an audible here. The DX theme song with Run DMC. I like that one a lot better. It's just something about Run DMC. It just makes it 5 times better. Number 3 is the Rockhouse nWo theme. Now, if you're a 90s kid, a 90s wrestling fan, and you claim that you don't like the nWo theme song, guess what, buddy? You are lying to yourself. Because that is, who else hasn't thought about being part of the nWo? Number 2 was really hard, because I had to really think about who would take the number 2 spot. And after considering it, and it's still hard because I'm having second thoughts now. I had this list all drawn out. I think number 2 would have to be The Ultimate Warrior. Just that guitar part. Gets you pumped up, makes you want to go to the ring. To be very honest, there was a 3-way tie for number 2. It was The Ultimate Warrior, Rowdy Piper, and Sting with Metallica. So that was pretty much the tie for number 2. Number 1, and I gotta say this is my favorite wrestling theme song, and that is
American Dream. He's just a common man, working hard with his hands.
The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and that's number 1. So guys, I'm rounding out about another minute left on this thing, so I wanted to say thank you for listening. Like I said, the shows will be shorter now, but guess what? That does not mean that the quality will be shorter. So that means more shows coming. I could spit out a couple a day if I wanted to, and that's more for you guys. So please subscribe to us on YouTube at the WFZ. Please follow us on Twitter at _WFZ. Also want to do a few plugs here. Go to MLWradio.com and subscribe. You get some amazing podcasts. The Ric Flair Show with Ric Flair and Conrad Thompson. I'm glad to see Rick back behind the mic. The Bruce Pritchard Show, Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. Amazing show, guys. I listen to every single one of those back to back. And Bruce, for being there for Bruce is like the Forrest Gump of wrestling. He's there for everything. From the Montreal Screwjob, the steroid trials, the radicals in WWE, the Ultimate Warrior, WrestleManias, listen to him. And of course, my favorite, Mr. Jim Cornette, the Jim Cornette Experience. So guys, that's all the time I have for tonight. I want to thank y'all for listening, and be sure to subscribe, and y'all keep it easy.
It's a shameful fate you've lost your head. A careless man who could wind up dead. You wear your sin